Hello, and welcome to Broads and Books. I'm Erin.
And I'm Amy, and this is episode number 83, Heart of the Matter.
To be clear,
Okay.
this is the India Arie version of Heart of the Matter.
Well, that may be true. All I could think of this week was Don Henley.
Get it out of your head. Get it out of your head. It's India Arie. Because I really do like her version of this song.
Okay, gotcha.
That's
So,
really
yeah,
why I picked it.
what was it about this week and this song?
Well, I've always liked the song. And when you get down to the heart of the matter of the song,
Look at you using the words.
it's about forgiveness.
Oh, it sure is.
Even if you don't love me anymore, which is the lyric.
Which I'm still hearing in Don's voice.
Yes. So we thought, you know what? That's an interesting topic.
It is. We haven't really talked about that. Yeah.
Apologizing.
Ugh,
I know.
I don't like that.
It may feel too soon for some things, but
Yeah, that's a good clarification to make. Some things are not forgivable, I think. What do you think?
agreed. Yeah. I do think that there are certain lines that just, maybe I can learn to peacefully live in a world where you do, but I don't know if I can forgive you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was going to...
No, go for it. What were you going to say?
I was going to ask you how you feel
okay.
about the phrase, I can forgive, but I never forget.
I like it in theory because I think I believe in it. But the thing is, I forget a lot of things. So I don't know if my memory can stand up to this phrase. Like, I want to not forget the things that I've forgiven. But it's just biology. My biology will take over and my shitty brain will say, sorry, you're going to forget this.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
See ya.
You may have a glimmer of, rancor towards someone, but you're going to forget why. And I'm going to haunt you for the rest of your days. That's what my brain does. That's what it says.
Okay.
Yeah. That turned weird.
I like that you want to not forget, but
I do. I want to be.
Yeah.
I want to keep my grudges. And let's be honest, I've kept plenty of grudge.
Right.
And there's a lot of things I cannot forget. There's just as many that just gone to the sands of time.
It's kind of like having a shelf, like an allotment of grudges. Like,
yes.
do I have to remove one to put another? So that means that it'd have to be a really serious grudge to get one knocked off.
And maybe that's it. I'm 43 years old. I've got a whole shelf full of grudges.
Yeah.
And some of them had to be knocked off over time.
I think that that's true.
Yeah.
To make way for the more serious transgressions.
That's very true. Another popular saying, Erin, is love means never having to say you're sorry.
Bullshit.
I was going to predict that, but why? Why, Erin?
It's lies.
Yeah.
First of all, that's a lie.
It is a lie.
What does that mean? Love means never having to say you're sorry. I'm not
never
going to say
understood that.
sorry to someone I don't love. Then you're not getting a sorry from me. I might accidentally bump into you in a store and say, oh, I'm sorry, but that's not what I mean by an apology. 1. 2, that's propaganda, in my opinion, to keep women happy. You don't have anything to be upset about because love means never having to say you're sorry. He loves you. You don't need to worry about it.
Which then allows for all sorts of shitty behavior.
Yes.
If someone doesn't have to say sorry for something, then, I love you. I'm going to treat you like shit, but I'm not going to say sorry. Because I love you.
Because I love you. And love means never having to say you're sorry.
Bullshit.
Actually, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
It means having to say you're sorry.
A lot.
Because you're going to do shitty things to people that you love. And you have to say you're sorry.
Yeah.
You don't get to say, no, I'm not going to say I'm sorry.
You don't get to also just say, I love you in response to that. That doesn't do it.
No, I'm sorry. That's not enough. So I hate that phrase. I've always hated that phrase. The first time I heard that, I knew it was bullshit. And I was probably 12. Because what? How does that even make sense?
Well, and it came from a really schmaltzy movie anyway, right? Like, which...
Love Story.
Yes. If that was called Love Story, come on. That ruined a lot of people then. If that's what I think
that's what this is. This idea that if you love someone, then you let everything go. All their faults, everything. Well, that's why we're in the position that we're in with so many people getting away with bad behavior.
You're right.
Because no one holds them accountable.
Exactly.
It's okay to be held accountable.
It's necessary to be held accountable.
Yes.
Especially to the people that you love and who love you.
Yeah. And the reality is those are the only people that can hold you accountable. It's the only people I'm not going to listen to the random stranger I bumped into at Target tell me something about myself.
No. I don't bump into strangers at Target anymore. I keep a wide swath.
Well, yeah, now for sure. But
especially the people that wear their mask once they get in and then take it off once they,
Yeah.
Them, I'm like leaving like 20 feet of distance or just running across the store away from them.
Just no, get away from me.
Sprint.
Just sprint. Oh, you shouldn't be here. Why did I come in?
I just needed some ho-hos. That's all I needed.
I need curbside. So as a general rule, do you find yourself over apologizing or under apologizing?
I think I used to over apologize all the time. And I think some of this is, being raised as a woman. I think we're the ones that have to sort of apologize to keep the peace. I think, though, it seeps into everything. Like, I think about in work situations, I would immediately, apologize if I misunderstood something, if I did. And there are situations to say you're sorry for. But
Absolutely.
I think I've learned over time that there's a line. And if you start apologizing for everything, you're just going to be stepped on more and more.
Yeah.
Now I may have swung too far the other way, where I will very thoughtfully, I'm not going to put a sorry. I'm not going to say sorry. I'm not going to do any of this unless it's really necessary. But then my behavior, I don't think necessitates a sorry.
No, I actually think that's a good skill. I think more of us should employ that. Like, is this a situation that actually necessitates an apology? Because there's a difference between a sincere apology and a fluffernutter apology.
Yes. Do you remember Inside Amy Schumer, there was a skit where it was like a group of women that were all experts in their field, and they were sitting at a panel at a TED Talk or something, and all they kept doing to each other, sorry, I interrupted, sorry, until finally I think their heads explode or something. And that's what happens.
Yeah, that is what happens.
Well, thinking of apologies that mean something versus fluffernutter apologies. Is that what you called it?
I did.
Yeah.
I don't really know why, but it works.
Can you think of a time that you apologized and definitely did not mean it?
I can. Was the one and only time in my school career that I got sent to the principal's office. Yeah. In my senior year of high school.
Whoa.
There was a substitute teacher that often substituted at our school, and her last name was Sheriff. And of course, when she would...
Like Polk County Sheriff?
Right.
Okay.
When she would substitute, people would start singing that song, I shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the deputy. And I didn't have anything against her. It was just in my head because other people were singing it. And I happened to be the editor of the school newspaper that year. So she was substituting for my journalism teacher. So there was me and 4 other people in the room. And I was working and I started singing it completely accidentally. It did not mean, and she lost her mind. I'm sure it was the culmination of hearing that song.
You were the straw that broke the
And she sent me to the principal's office, I was like, I don't even know what to do.
Where is the principal's office?
Yeah, so I went to the principal's office, and at that time we actually had a nun that was serving as the principal because the principal had something else, different job or something, and they were getting a new anyway. So I knew her very well since second grade, and she was like, "Why are you here?" And I explained what happened, and she's like, "Did you mean it?" I was like, "No, of course not. She's like, just go back, apologize, and just say you're sorry, you didn't mean to, whatever." And I was like, all right. So, there is a part of me that felt bad. I really wasn't trying to offend you, but also,
why are you coming down on me when every other kid is doing this too?
Let's talk to the people who started the song singing in the hallway. But I did. I went back and said, I'm really sorry. I'm, sorry I hurt your feelings. I really didn't mean to. It's in my head. That's not an excuse, but I'm sorry.
Did you do the finger cross thing behind your back?
No, it's just in my head. I'm sure on my face I looked dead because inside I was just like, this is so dumb.
Robot voice apology.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that I hurt your feelings and sorry. So I'm into work now. If that's okay.
Did she accept that wooden apology?
Yeah, she did. She was like, it's fine.
Oh, she felt real imperious about it.
Yeah, she kind of took, and that's when in the back of my head I was like, I didn't mean it.
Yeah.
But I didn't say that because I didn't want to go back to the principal's office. Ooh. Yeah.
Was it always icy between the two of you after that?
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I ever even had her as a substitute again.
Do you think you're still on her shelf of grudges? She hasn't been able to ever forgive or forget you?
I would think, but I wonder if it's more just a feeling. I wonder if my face is actually there or it's just more the school feeling.
You're
that
a representative
school.
student of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Maybe if she saw me, it would trigger something, but it's not specifically related to me. It's more the entire
But you're the face of her teaching PTSD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also like to point out that she looked like Big Bird. She was the tallest person I've ever seen.
Did she have yellow feathers and a?
She was wearing a yellow sweater, which is why that sticks in my head.
Okay.
And a long denim skirt, like a long, you know what I mean?
Like
long,
prairie dress.
Yes,
long,
but
yeah.
it was like short on her because she was so tall.
Wow.
Yeah. I do remember.
Oh, so Big Bird sent you to the principal's office. Mm-hmm. I know we've been friends for a while. We've been doing this podcast a long time, but still the image of you with nuns as teachers is very jarring. I know. Very jarring.
She gave me a piece of candy, if I remember correctly.
That sounds like the start of a Dateline episode.
I know.
The nun gave her some candy.
There are some nuns that were the start of Dateline episodes. This one in particular, though, she was pretty cool.
She was okay?
Yeah, I actually had a lot of respect for her. And she was like, had candy on her desk. She's like, just sit here. And I like rummaged in and probably got a butterscotch disc or something. I was like, all right, whatever.
Did going to Catholic school teach you about forgiveness? Or did it do the opposite?
I feel like I know, that's a loaded question.
It is.
I feel like there's a lot of ways that it probably taught me some good things about forgiveness, but a lot of not good things about forgiveness too.
A lot of doom and gloom and stuff.
Yeah. And the overwhelming feeling that you're always doing wrong, which is kind of a Catholic idea, right?
That seems
you're
like a pretty
guilty all the time.
Standard Catholic,
that kind of feeds into the over apologizing as a female anyway. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure it really served that purpose.
That's true.
But I got a butterscotch disc and went back to class.
You sure did.
With Big Bird. So
oh, boy.
Learned my lesson. Never sang that song again. Of course, I never sang it before that either, but.
Oh, my gosh. Mm-hmm. Well, theme of forgiveness. I got a fiction pick for us.
I'm excited.
It's called Whiskey and Ribbons by Lisa Cross Smith. This came out in 2018.
Okay.
And Evie is married to Eamon, and she's 9 months pregnant. But then before she gives birth, Eamon, who is a police officer, is killed.
Oh.
6 months later, Eamon's adopted brother, Dalton, who is very close to the two of them, has moved into Evie's house, and they're helping like each other kind of raise the baby, helping each other through this grief.
Okay.
Over the course of a weekend with a super freak blizzard, because this is set in Louisville, Kentucky, Evie and Dalton sort of come to terms with family secrets, with things that have been unsaid, and a sort of growing attraction to each other. The book is told from all three characters' perspectives. We get Evie, who during that blizzard weekend we see into her head, we see how she's grappling with grief, with all the things that she's struggling with. And also sort of feeling like, oh God, these feelings for Dalton, what is this? Is this weird? Is this real? Am I just really in a bad place? We also see Eamon in the past as he meets Evie and he plans for fatherhood. And then we also hear from Dalton, who's a bike mechanic, and he has sort of a strange past. We hear from him during the blizzard weekend and also before in key conversations with his brother. And we see that the brotherly bond is a really complicated one, and there's some family secrets going on that I mentioned. Dalton has to come to terms with all of that and what that means for how he's grieving. I think this book it's sort of a small story, but it's also a very sort of big one too. It's written very beautifully. And I chose it for this theme because I think a big part of grief is forgiveness. I think you see that here so well. Mm-hmm. You know, both Evie and Dalton, they have to forgive Eamon for his flaws. They have to forgive him for dying because it doesn't make a lot of sense, but we can sometimes blame people for dying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially being pulled away so soon.
Yes.
They have to forgive themselves for the things they've done in the past around Eamon, and I wish I could have changed that. I wish I could have done that. Mm-hmm. And maybe most important, they have to forgive themselves for continuing to live and for maybe finding joy and love in each other too. Mm-hmm. So the theme of forgiveness is dealt with so well here. It's so complicated. You know, we were joking about forgiveness and forgetting or forgiving, but here you see just the multiple layers of it. You see it in this trio of people that love each other very much, and the grief is real. Mm-hmm. It's a lovely story, and Lisa Cross Smith has a new book coming out soon. I think maybe in the next couple months.
I just read it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How
That's
was it?
why when you said the name, I was like, why does that sound familiar? It was great.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I'm going to recommend it in a future episode for sure.
I thought it wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Well, I think because I'm on Book of the Month Club, sometimes they get early releases.
Awesome.
And if you pick that one or whatever.
You.
Yeah. And I didn't even know. I just thought that the book sounded good.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally the book I read this weekend.
Jesus.
I know. Isn't that weird?
Or die.
I know. So great author. I will.
Yes.
I will probably recommend it in the future because it was a delightful read.
Yeah.
So I can see what you mean about the writing.
Yeah.
I'm assuming because it was
Yeah.
very. I knew exactly what you're talking about. She's a very talented writer. So yay! I'm excited.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that one later.
Excellent.
So I brought another book that is fairly recent. It was published January 5th, 2021 by Bloomsbury Publishing. It's called Outlawed by Anna North.
Oh my gosh, I've been looking at this and thinking I want to read it. Okay.
You should.
All right.
A few times I was like, Amy would like this
okay.
book. Yeah. And it's a quick read in the sense that it kind of just envelops you and you go with it. So it starts with the sentence, "In the year of our Lord, 1894, I became an outlaw."
Ooh.
Yeah. And this is the story of Ada, who's the main character. And at 17, this is the Old West. She's married off. And she's fine with it. She loves her husband, or at least what she assumes is love. She loves her job as an apprentice to her mother, who's a midwife. She loves her younger siblings. She's happy. But a year passes and Ada does not get pregnant. And this is a problem because that's women's sole job,
Sure
is to
is.
provide children and continue on the name. And at this time, particularly in the Old West, they're known for hanging women who are barren, because they think it might be witchcraft or there's something wrong with them. They haven't understood that could be scientific reasons. They believe that there's something wrong with the woman, or she's done something wrong for God not to allow her to have a child. So
You don't want to look at the men, though. Don't want to look at the stuff that's coming out of them.
no, but Ada's mom is smarter than that because she's a midwife.
Yeah.
So she's seen a lot. So she's kind of been trying to counsel her daughter. Well, ultimately, after a year, her husband's family says, "This is no good. You're out." And they kick her out. Now, normally, she would be run out of town. But the sheriff and her mom have a good relationship. So the sheriff just says, stay with your mom. It's fine. And so she kind of hunkers down at home again and is just trying to be happy with that life. But then some other women in the town have miscarriages, or the next door neighbor who's not able to get pregnant, they decide that it's because Ada is a curse. She's putting witchcraft on them so that other women don't have babies.
All of that witchiness.
And he is supposed to take her to jail, but the mom ferrets her out quickly and gets her to a covenant of nuns that will take her in so that she doesn't get either hung or put in jail or whatever in the town. But she's essentially a fugitive at that point. And she spends some time with the nuns and she thinks this isn't right either. So through a series of adventures, she ends up with the Hole in the Wall gang, who's run by the leader, Kid.
As in Billy the Kid?
Yeah, but she quickly comes to realize that all of these people are all women, even though maybe she didn't think that to begin with. And they were driven out of their respective towns for being barren, for having been born to a biracial couple, or for various other crimes, maybe being a lesbian. And the sheriff and their posse have drove them out, or, they all kind of went through the same thing and wound up together. So Ada decides that her goal in life is to figure out, why are some women barren? Like, why is this such a crime? What is happening? This shouldn't be happening to women who, like she knows in her case, she's perfectly healthy.
And doing
She's
everything
not a
right.
witch. She wasn't
Yeah.
performing witchcraft. She knows. And she hears of this doctor who lives in another town many miles away, that has sort of discovered this and is trying to get her research out there. So she thinks, I need to get to her because I know this stuff from mom. If I can learn from her, I could help change people's minds. So the whole story, I can't really tell you much more, basically takes the Wild West and flips it on its head with a cast of women outlaws. We've always heard the story of
amazing.
Billy the Kid
Yes.
as, and male outlaw. And in this case, they're all females. Maybe they dress up like males. Maybe they pass off as males. We're not sure. But they're fending for themselves better than any man could ever hope to be. They take on all kinds of adventures and all kinds of craziness. And the reason that I picked it for this theme is because Ada understands that people are uneducated and ignorant, and that their actions reflect that. She knows that the best way to get the world to change is through information, is to helping people see something else. And she isn't seeking forgiveness for herself, but she's giving it so freely to other people who she's giving them a pass because she says they just don't know any better. And it's my job to help teach them, which is an incredibly courageous and incredibly respectable and admirable trait, to be able to say, you know what, you're not even asking for forgiveness. You're not even really sorry for what you did, but I grant you the forgiveness. I just want to help you do better. And really, that's, I think, central to the whole book and central to all the characters in the book. So when you get down to it, it is kind of an odd book about forgiveness in a weird way, but it's also so good.
It sounds amazing.
Such a quick read. You just get immersed in the whole thing and the stories and the things that happen, and it's beautifully written. And it was like I said, it was a quick read because you just want to know what's going to happen, and you love some of the characters and you hate some of the characters, and it was terrific.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just really struck by the idea of an all-girl gang.
Yeah. It's really, that's a moment. I hesitated about whether or not to share that part because there's kind of a moment when you're like, oh, it kind of hits you, but it's so good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I think I have it on my list. I'm just going to shoot it to the top of the charts.
Yes. I have a copy. I should have brought it for you.
Yes, you should have.
Okay. Well, I'll bring it.
No, it's okay.
Sorry. I do have a copy. That was rude. I'll bring it.
I can forgive, but I won't forget this, Erin.
It's fine.
As
sorry.
I say that, I know that's not true. I'm going to forget it the minute that we move on.
I'll bring that one and the new Lisa Cross-Smith one to you. You can have both of them.
And then I'll forget it so much that when you bring them next week, I'll have no idea why you brought them.
Why? Did I want
what
to
is
read this book?
Yeah. That's how my brain works these days.
I'm okay with that. I like it. But I did think quite a few times, this is a Amy would
it sounds
like this.
incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen the picture or the cover, and it looked like Old West lady.
Yeah.
But maybe a warrior. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's good. There's some moments where you're like, what? Yeah.
Excellent. I want those moments. I want to feel like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Comeuppance. I don't know. That felt like something I should say. Like that fit into the West thing somehow. I don't know why.
It does.
Yeah.
That feels Old Westy.
Comeuppance. Come over here and get your comeuppance.
Also feels Old West the way you moved your shoulders and you did the comeuppance. It actually looks like you're doing a moonwalk, except for the handguns you just pulled out.
I added pistols. I thought that made it better. Comeuppance. If I write an Old West story, it's going to be called Comeuppance.
Comeuppance. It's going to have finger guns on the cover.
And the main character is going to be a guy named Comeuppance who cannot shoot. So he just shoots in the sky.
Can there be a lady in there that just constantly forgets what she needs to forgive?
Yeah,
okay, because that'll be me. Yeah.
That'll be perfect. She'll be the only one that talks to Comeuppance because she forgets that he's so bad with a gun. Everybody's like, get away, it's Comeuppance. And he's shooting.
She's like, no, it's fine.
It's what?
It's
No,
fine.
it's just Larry.
So his name is Larry Comeuppance.
I didn't put that together, but yeah. You betcha.
Oh, good old Larry.
Oh, Larry always doing something crazy. Comeuppance.
Oh, my goodness. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Well, on that note, really not on that note, because there's no way to go away from Larry Comeuppance.
Copyrighted by me right now. If anyone steals that character.
Because that's how it works. Copyright.
I claimed copyright.
Just reminds me again of the second gentleman, Doug. I just like saying Doug. I like that there's a dude named Doug within the vicinity of the White House.
I do too.
And he's just a chill dude.
Embracing his role.
Embracing it.
Doesn't care.
Good old Doug.
Doug.
His last name's not Comeuppance, but still great. Doug.
It would be weird if it was. I think that would have been.
Second gentleman, Comeuppance.
Doug Comeuppance. Oh, now I feel like I need to look at that. There's got to be someone with the last name Comeuppance.
There definitely does. There has to be a town named Comeuppance.
Oh, you know there is.
Yeah. And in that town, everyone gets their comeuppance.
And there's probably a Larry.
There's for sure a Larry. And he's designated himself the mayor of the town.
If you get another cat, can we name it Comeuppance?
Listen, I get feral cats coming to the back door all the time. I can name the next one Comeuppance.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Don't invite another cat in here, Erin.
Sorry.
Come on now.
I'm sorry. It
You've
would be
seen the
Comeuppance.
You've seen the turmoil the three podcasts are causing.
You're right. Watch out, Ziggy. Comeuppance is coming. Anyway. Did you bring another genre
I
pick?
sure did.
Good.
And it's called Craigslist Confidential. Excuse me,
Ooh.
I got that wrong.
Okay.
Let me try that again.
That's usually my job. Why are you messing up titles?
Because it's a C word, and I keep thinking comeuppance and like.
I ruined your brain.
No, it was already Swiss cheese.
Okay.
Let's try this again. Craigslist confessional.
Confessional.
A collection. There's a lot of C words.
That is a lot.
A collection of secrets from anonymous strangers by Helena Diabala.
Wow.
From
I'm
last
already
year.
in. This sounds very intriguing.
So this lovely book that I have managed to botch the opening to. Helena Diabala is the author, and she is young and sort of stuck in D.C. She's feeling empty about her new adult life and her chosen profession as a lobbyist. And one day she just happens to strike up a conversation with a stranger, and she finds it very sort of strange, the fact of the conversation itself, but also that she kind of reveals some deeply personal stuff, and so does the other person. So then she has this idea: place an ad on Craigslist inviting people to tell her, a perfect stranger, their stories and their secrets. And surprisingly, a shitload of people come. She talks to them on the phone, or she goes to a coffee shop and talks in person. And these strangers, I know, and these strangers tell her these deep, dark things. Helena takes notes she's very upfront about the process that she's going to turn this into something. She's not quite sure what, but she's recording, she's taking notes, whatever. Soon, there are so many of these that she quits her day job in order to work on this full time. So the book, it starts with that story, her story, and then it's vignettes of strangers telling another stranger some of the most secrets of secrets. So here's some examples. There's an undocumented man who tells her about his terrible green card marriage. There's a person who went through gender reassignment surgery and is falling in love for the first time as his true self. There's a man who lost his wife to alcoholism and is struggling to rebuild his life without her. There's a veteran who lost both of his legs after serving 2 tours. There's people admitting to addiction, to cheating, to breaking the law. There's sad stories, there's inspiring stories, and there's some of both. And a warning, too. There's some tough stuff. In one situation, she actually listens to a father confess to sexually abusing his 2 daughters when they were young girls. And I think that's an in-person conversation too.
Oh my gosh.
Can you even imagine? So I chose it for this theme because reading this, I got a really profound sense of how much people need forgiveness. Sometimes it's just for making mistakes or for living their life the way they want to live it. Sometimes it's for a feeling of not being authentic to themselves. Sometimes it's much deeper and much darker. But it struck me that there's such a desperate need for telling our stories. And by saying them aloud, maybe we're getting closure, forgiveness. And it kind of shows how lonely so many people are, too, that they're willing and kind of feel the need to talk to this perfect stranger, you know? And I mean, therapy is expensive, and not everyone can get therapy and get access to it. So maybe this is one of those too. I think it shows how much guilt we bear every day, how much hurt. And we also get into who deserves forgiveness. Like that dad, does he deserve forgiveness? I don't know. And I think she kind of reserves judgment. She just kind of puts it out there, but you're going to have feelings about that for sure. And this is still an ongoing project, by the way. I checked out, she has a website where she's still soliciting, tell me your story. So I don't know if there's going to be more books, if there's going to just be more of an online repository. I'm not quite sure, but it's remarkable that it's still happening. And I imagine after this book came out, there was an influx too of more people wanting to tell their stories. So
do you feel like that's something you would ever do?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think about it, and I think about how I've done therapy multiple times, and that's a stranger, and I tell some of the deepest stuff to them.
That's true.
But that person has a title. That person comes with the promise of helping me work through some stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas this is just a situation where she's just going to listen. And I don't know if I would do that or not. What do you think? I'm
in the same boat as you. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point that you made about therapy, but I don't know. I guess there could be something freeing in telling someone that you don't know and just there's nothing there. But I think I know myself well enough that it would bother me that there wasn't a reaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I wouldn't be able to do it without seeking some sort of validation, either some sort of way, if that makes sense. Yeah.
And I would feel too, especially these people know going in that she's going to write about them somehow, that they're going to be out, and you're not going to use their real names or their full names, but still knowing that that's going to get out there somehow. Maybe some people take comfort in that, but I don't know. That seems very scary too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good though.
It is good. Yeah. It was, she groups them into categories too. I think there's love and family and maybe even grief. And so kind of gets at all different levels of stories and emotions. And
Wow.
like I said, some are kind of tear-jerking, some are inspiring, some are just, oh God, I remember one that stuck with me was just somebody who, I think he was a guy in his 40s. He'd been with his wife for maybe 15, 20 years. They had kids. Like everything was as it was supposed to be. Good job, good family. And he just felt so empty. And it reminded me of conversations we've had about how empty the American dream is, how empty like everything that we should and supposed to do maybe. And so there's some of that too.
Yeah. Well, my other genre pick this week is called Playing Dead, A Journey Through the World of Death Fraud by Elizabeth Greenwood.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I don't know what death fraud is.
Okay.
Please
well,
tell us.
Yes, I happened upon this book. It was published in 2016. A couple episodes, I'm not sure if it was the last episode or the one before, I recommended those couple of disappearance of on Oxygen.
Yeah.
So in one of these, they were exploring the idea that gets floated a lot, especially with young women, that they just left to start a new life. So kind of death fraud.
Okay.
Like you're allowing.
Pretending
Now there's
that
two
they're-
kinds of death fraud. Just I've left, I'm starting a new life and your family has no idea. Or like there's death and then they try to collect life insurance money on that and that person isn't actually dead. So there's kind of some different areas of
So
death
this
fraud.
is a career choice that we could do?
Yeah, apparently. Well,
Wow.
if you read the book, I don't know.
Okay. Yep.
So they were talking about this. They consulted this author in one of the episodes to say, how likely is it that this one was a girl that was in college. It was like her junior year. How likely is it that she just left and started a new life? And the author was like, it's nearly impossible, and said that she had this book. And so I was, of course, fascinated.
Ooh.
And so the reason that Elizabeth came up with this idea is she's sort of like, it's post-college. She's went to school to be a teacher. She's teaching, but she has like 6-figure student loan debt. She doesn't love her job. She just sort of feels like, what is the point? Like, why did I do all of this? And how am I ever going to get out from underneath this debt and this feeling? And so she kind of started this imaginary game with her friend. And she was like, yeah, what if I just, started over in another country and they couldn't find me? And, she went down this rabbit hole of like, okay, I've heard that floated sometimes as theories, is this possible? So she starts out on this research projects where she talks to people who are in jail for faking their own deaths. She talks to private investigators that are sent by insurance companies to find those fakers. She talks to people who help create fake documents for people. She talks to families who are left in the wake of the fraud or left not knowing what happened to their loved one. So she looks at death fraud from a bunch of angles and with a ton of different crazy characters. Like every person she talks to has a really interesting story, really interesting take, and weighs out the possibilities of whether or not it's really actually possible to get away with it. And part of the consensus is that you really have to do some of this stuff in other countries where the laws are different or it's easier to get access to certain things. So a couple of my favorite highlights are that in other countries, you can buy a corpse, an indigent corpse, for very little money.
What?
Which is what people that try to do death fraud sometimes do. Like if you have a country that has a population, and that happens in the United States as well, you have indigent people who are, killed or die and there's no one to claim their body. At some point, either the county, city, who's ever responsible pays a crematorium to cremate them, or they can be bought by other things for maybe science purposes or research or whatever.
Or death fraud.
Yeah. And I don't think that happens so much in the United States as it does other countries, but it was surprising how little money.
Whoa.
You could buy a corpse and throw a fake funeral, have fake mourners. You can pay people to show up. And it was so interesting because that section was talked a lot about from the PI's perspective that went to investigate it. And he was talking about watching this video of a funeral and being like, why does that person look familiar? And he realized that there were actually only 3 people at the funeral and they were rotating in and out of the frame and changing costume. It's so fascinating. You can choose how you want to die, if you're creating these fake documents. And her whole purpose of researching it is the whole time she was thinking about it, she was going to actually try it and see.
Oh my God.
So she's trying to figure out the legal ramifications, which are kind of interesting. There is actually no legal ramification for disappearing or acting as though you're dead as long as you don't collect any money or you don't try to pass off any fake document.
Okay.
So like they gave an example of a woman who everyone assumed she was dead. She didn't correct anyone, but she also didn't like get a new ID or try to present a death certificate or anything at any time. And she was discovered years and years and years later because of another crime that she happened to be a witness to. And when she went to give her name, had no ID or anything to back it up. And they were like, well, and they started digging. And then she just admitted, look, this is who I am. But I've been living kind of, under the radar.
Wow.
But she never did anything illegal technically. So they didn't have anything to charge her with. But when you present a fake document or you try to collect life insurance, so that's what also came out of it, was that it seems most people get caught either by the insurance company that doesn't want to pay the claim or in commission of another crime. Like they talked about a guy that got caught because his back taillight was out and he got pulled over after like 20 years of living under a different alias, everything. So really interesting. It was just, I guess, something I hadn't thought a lot about.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to me now. You and I watch a lot of true crime. We know a lot of people that do. And that is a theory you hear. Like maybe they just went off and started a new life. And after reading this, it almost makes me want to laugh at investigators saying that, because it's like you would have to have such things so lined up and well done to do that this idea that just randomly it happens in the middle of the day on Tuesday and you just leave your car and you never, it just doesn't hold water. It just doesn't really
needs so
work.
much premeditation and planning. And
yeah, it almost feels like this thing that's become an excuse as a way to not investigate. But in reality, it's not something, I mean, we're talking about brilliant people that couldn't get away with it.
Wow.
So really interesting. And I picked it for this theme because one of the other things that they touch on a lot that goes wrong with people with death fraud is that they can't stay away from a loved one or a family member.
Yeah.
They can't live with the idea that they've hurt them. They can't live with the idea that person's living with not knowing. They think, okay, I'll go for 5 years and then I'll be able to pop back up. And so there's a lot in there underneath it about forgiveness.
Yeah.
And a lot about families that are left picking up the pieces, about children whose parents kind of made them complicit in their disappearing act because maybe they were going to be convicted of a crime or something. So underneath it, there's also kind of this interesting thread about forgiveness and how do you move past that and how much responsibility we actually feel to other people.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, to me, where forgiveness comes from, is that you feel responsible for what you do in this world. And that's what they said underneath it all, believe it or not, is that people feel a responsibility to not hurt other people. And then they end up, slipping up or.
Wow.
Yeah.
So all that planning, all that thought, and then they just can't help feeling like they need to close up or have some closure or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, a lot of the book, it was kind of like not necessarily about what you can get away with, but more what you can live with. Mm-hmm. What are you willing to make your family live with? Mm-hmm. And can you be forgiven for that? Because that is a big part of it.
Wow. What an amazing idea for a book, first off.
Yeah.
And second, that it's so involved.
Yes, it is. It's very interesting.
How much does it cost to throw a fake funeral?
It depends on the country.
Buy that body.
It was like in some countries, it was like a couple $1,000s to buy the body. I thought in one she said it was like $500 to get the body.
I was gonna say a real funeral is way more expensive than that.
Mm-hmm. And then you're paying. Oh, they had stories of people investigators that had coffins exhumed to find out they were filled with rocks. There was no body in there. Yeah, yeah. They said that the most suspicious way to fake your own death is to drown, which is what people want to do because it's one of the ways that you don't have to have a body. Mm-hmm. But it's pings right away for insurance companies as suspicious. They almost always investigate drowning deaths if you try and get life insurance for that.
Okay, so when we fake our death, we can't do drowning.
No. We have to buy bodies.
We have to. That's great. I want to buy a real nice body that puts me in a good light.
Okay.
And
See,
then
we're already off the rails. We're already off the rails.
I want to buy the best mourners.
Yes,
so
that's a good idea.
I'm going to start budgeting now because
Yeah,
I don't want to rotate people in and out and give the jig. No, I want to have a good crowd of people that are weeping their eyes out at my loss.
Yes.
It may be suspicious that we both stage this at the same time. That may be how we get caught.
Well, we should die in the same type of accident. Like we were together. That's not unusual.
Yes. It can't be a drowning accident.
No.
It's got to be something else. Mm-hmm. Okay. Lots to think about.
Yeah,
Lots to
there's
plan.
a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of details, but I learned a lot, so we're a leg up, I think.
I bet Larry Comeuppance knows all about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, he's the deliverer at the end that's like, I'm not paying this out, and here's your comeuppance. in the way of Larry.
Or he's like, when somebody dies and they didn't get their comeuppance, he's like, I'm going to sell your body for death fraud.
Yes.
That's your comeuppance.
Here's your comeuppance. Yes.
This is going to be a great book when you write it.
I can't wait. Larry Comeuppance is already a
That's
very
great.
intriguing character.
I've got ideas about what Larry looks like, but I'm going to let them percolate a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, on a true crime vein,
Ooh.
and also on an HBO Max vein.
Oh!
I've got a docu-series, 4 episodes. You've seen this as well, Murder on Middle Beach.
Oh.
Yeah.
So good.
So Madison is...
Oh, what a good idea for this one. I know
Yeah.
exactly where you're going.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Madison is a teenager when his mother, Barbara, is murdered outside their home. And it's a case that baffles everyone. No one has any answers. No one understands why she would be targeted for murder. No one understands anything over there. But over time, as Madison gets older, he goes to college, then later to art school, I believe, then later like as a professional, he creates this documentary as a way to seek answers and to try and find out what really happened. And the result is this show told over a decade or so. And this is a true crime series told from such a personal perspective that it's so unique. It's so gripping in that way, I think. He has incredibly tough conversations with his aunts, with his sister, with his father. He finds out family secrets that are at turns weird as hell, at turns shocking, and at turns like, this seems like, I got an idea of who did this.
Yeah.
And to see the devastation wrought on the family from the death is something you don't often see in a true crime series.
Yeah.
Or in a true crime, just a 1-hour thing or something. Like, for example, Barbara's sister, his aunt, she struggles. She struggles hard. And she blames others in the family for her misfortune, for the death of Barbara. Madison's sister pretty much just runs away, just peace out. And his dad, just oof. There's so much to unpack here. And you see that through some secret recordings that Madison makes, which it feels like some real spy shit, but it's insane.
It's insane.
So insane.
So insane.
There's corporate scams. There's pyramid schemes. There's drugs.
there is.
There's the FBI. And there's so much involved here. And I chose it for this theme because I think Madison's decade-long quest is for answers. Absolutely. Not just to the murder, but to why his family is just so catastrophic. Like, why it's just so bad. But behind that, you see maybe Madison is seeking forgiveness, too, from himself, from his mother, even from family members that may not deserve it. And I think so much of the family dynamics that you see within the show are all about denying forgiveness or trying to seek forgiveness. I think there's so much here that often doesn't get covered when you're just focusing on the murder and maybe the answers, trying to follow the case and everything. This is the devastation wrought on a single family, which is so compelling. One note, when the show is done, you will have questions. You will have thoughts. And there's a great interview with Madison that I found that talks about this and the next steps, and I'll link to it in the show notes because it's a great article. What do you think, Karen? You saw this as well.
Yeah, same. I was going to say the same because he says that he might release more episodes based on some things that happen after the show. But right away I knew why you were going to say forgiveness because you and I talked about Madison, the documentary maker, and really at the heart of this whole thing is his family. And we were both struck at his poise and ability to offer forgiveness in situations where I would have said, I'm out a long time ago. And he kept at this for 10 years and kept a truly caring and genuine attitude about every single person in his family, regardless of really what he thought about their involvement, the things that they would say, the people they would throw under the bus. He just kept extending this grace that was like, how do you have that?
Yes. And after all of that, like at the final episode, there's a group gathering where they're all together after all of these interviews and fingers pointing and just secrets revealed, and it's something.
It is. Yeah. It is. Yeah. It was a terrific. It's different than any other true crime thing, I think. It's just a different angle and it's fascinating because of that.
And I did have a sense too as I finished it. I was like I felt like probably we know Madison more than we do. Like we get a feeling of
Yes,
closeness.
yeah.
Like we are almost
That's a good
seeing
point.
this
Yeah.
through his eyes. So I feel like, oh, I hope he's okay.
I know,
Like, you know, he
yes.
spent 10 years on this. He dedicated he put everything else on hold. Like he tried to turn this into a career, and he absolutely did.
Yeah.
But this was the driving force of his life for so long. And, you know, my prevailing thought after that was like, I hope he found what he needed. And then I hope he found some closure. And I hope he was able to forgive himself and his family and all of that.
Absolutely.
Except for one member of the family. I don't think there's any forgiveness.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there's some real manipulation going on. There's some gaslighting.
Oh my gosh. And you'll change your mind a couple different
Yes,
times.
you
I did,
really
at
will.
least. You know, I kept thinking, oh man, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. It's a twisty ride.
And of course, there's a multi-level marketing scheme.
Because how could there not
How
be?
could there not be?
How could there not be?
And this one is a real bizarre one that it took me a while to figure out, like, what? How is this working?
I know. It was complicated.
Yeah. And also just so brazen. Like usually you hide this with like lipsticks or like oils or something. This one, it wasn't that.
No.
Just straight up cash.
Yeah.
Packets of cash.
Buckets of cash.
Yes.
So much cash. Well, my pop culture pick this week relates to kind of your book in a weird way. Your other genre pick, the Craigslist book. It's a new podcast out. It's going to be 6 episodes long. There are 3 out now. Well, there might be 4 out by the time this episode comes out, but it's called The Apology Line.
I have this in my queue. I haven't listened yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a podcast put out by Wondery. So the whole premise is that Alan Bridge is an artist in the 80s, and he comes up with this crazy idea that he's going to place ads around New York City to call this number that he has an answering machine in his house set up to and apologize. You're calling the apology line. He makes it very clear, do not give yourself away. I'm not working with law enforcement. I'm not working with FBI, any investigative body, but don't reveal yourself either. Like, just stay anonymous. It's just a way to call and apologize for something without apologizing to the person. So he thinks it's going to be some kind of art exhibit. He hasn't quite decided what he's going to do with it, but he sets this all up. So we're hearing this story from his wife, who married him a few years into this project. Her name's Marissa, and she's telling the story. And so right away, we realize that this morphs into something else entirely, because one of the first callers leaves his first name and last name.
Ah, buddy.
And his mode of attack on victims.
What?
And shortly after that, another crime is committed that matches that. And Alan's sort of confronted with this moral dilemma because a detective calls him and says, we heard that maybe you have a recording or something. And so Alan doesn't know what to do because he's trying to stay true to this art idea and what he told these people. And he isn't entirely sure that he has evidence or what he should do with it. So he comes up with this idea that I'm going to do some interviews. He was doing some interviews for publicity around it. And he wasn't giving his name. He didn't want anyone to obviously know who he was or where he lived or anything like that. And he's going to release a couple of these tapes as part of publicity.
Oh.
And he just made sure it was that one in particular. So right away, there's some difficulties. And shortly into it, you find out that he starts getting like death threats, and these messages start getting weirder and weirder. And keep in mind, this is, old school answering machines. You're listening to these live, and they're coming in at all hours, day and night. And he's really struggling with how to end the project. Should he end the project? He's engaging with some of these people. So this is telling the story of how this art exhibit took on a life of its own and how long it lasted, and ultimately kind of the demise of Alan, like how it kind of overtook him. Obviously, I'm as far in as you can be. They have said very clearly it's a limited series. It's going to be 6 episodes. Right away, you get an idea of why this is heavy. I mean, they play clips from the tapes, and it's odd and it's jarring, and thinking about someone hearing that live is like, while it's happening in your home, and his wife is talking about that, after she moved in, getting used to these calls interrupting everything they were doing all the time. They could hear the machine go off and then hear these messages be left. As you get into the 2nd and 3rd episode, it talks about how he changed the formatting a little bit, how he started engaging with these people a little bit more.
That seems not smart.
Yeah, it is. It's weird and it's an odd thing, but it reminded me a lot of what you're saying with the Craigslist confessional. It was like these people just wanted a way to say they were sorry for something that And some of them are more benign, like I just want to say I'm sorry to my husband because, I don't really like him. Or, things that it was like they were just getting something off their chest and feeling better. But then there was also this kind of seedy underbelly to it that is posing a lot of problems for Alan personally of like how to handle. So
that is crazy.
It is. It's fascinating.
I had
really
forgot the premise of it. I was just letting it sort of, queue up in my queue so I could listen to them all at once. Jesus.
Yeah.
Man, that shows we have a human need to confess our sins.
It does. Yeah. And that you're oddly interested in hearing the tapes. And then like you said, at the end of the episodes, they're saying that they list a number you can call as the apology line now. Like she's kind of restarting the project while this podcast is out. Like, and they don't know if they're going to share them in a bonus episode or something, but you can call this number. And I'm thinking, who?
Especially if we're learning the lessons of like the dude that confessed to his crime.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's interesting.
It is. Mm-hmm. I do wonder sort of if it kind of indicates the state of mental health today and the lack of support that we have.
And this was the 80s. I mean, it's clearly not gotten any better.
No.
I mean, we're not doing a lot in the need to confess to someone or share these things is very interesting and I think something that we overlook a lot.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, it makes sense. Like when I, say stuff that's been weighing on me, whether I'm writing it out or if I'm saying it to a therapist or something, I do feel lighter. Yeah. So maybe people are seeking that. They're chasing that feeling.
Absolutely. I will warn you that there's a few people that, like one of them that threatens him, and his voice is so the opposite of what you would think of someone that would be threatening that it's like alarming.
Oh, wow.
Like it sounds like a optometrist, like just some random person you would meet, It
doesn't sound like Larry Comeuppance.
No, it doesn't sound like a creeper that's going to kill you, which is ultimately the
that's
purpose
what I'm,
of the message.
Exactly.
And
I'm imagining the voice of like the dude from I'll Be Gone in the Dark. The like really creepy.
Yes.
I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah. No, it's like just a happy, jovial, like, hey.
I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah. I feel so much better telling you this. Gosh, I'm going to murder you. Like, what? It's more terrifying. You're like,
it is
not okay. Like, you imagine this guy just sitting at his desk and then being like, all right, I'm gonna eat my sandwich. Like, what?
I'm picturing him just eating a Blizzard, having a nice little time. A nice sweet treat. And he's like, I'm gonna kill you.
A sweet treat. A nice sweet treat. That is an accurate detail that I like.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what came in my head.
When he's eating his Blizzard and there's not enough candy pieces, that's when Larry Comeuppance is like, uh-oh, Comeuppance! Didn't get enough of your peanut butter cup. Because everybody knows that's a disappointment.
Exactly.
You get a Blizzard and it just has the flakes of chocolate,
That's
none
no
of the candy
good.
chunks.
Yeah.
What did I do wrong today?
Man, I ate a lot of Blizzards growing up.
I did too. They're a delight, let's be honest.
Not good on the tum-tum.
No.
I'll tell you that.
But delicious.
Oh, delicious. Man, oh man. Well, we covered a lot of ground.
We did.
Yeah. I'm still creating an image of Larry in my head and his voice. His voice is not I'm going to kill you. It's a little more like husky. And,
I think it needs to have some sort of country like feel to it.
Oh, like he's got his bootstraps?
Yes.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
pulling himself up by his bootstraps. I said bootstraps, I think. I meant boot.
I don't want boob straps. That sounds terrible.
That's a bra, right?
Yeah, it is a bra. You're right.
He's pulling himself up by his bra and getting to work. Larry Comeuppance.
Oh, Larry.
It's an intriguing character.
It is an intriguing character. Mm-hmm. You got a lot to work with.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. We went some weird places with forgiveness today.
We did. But hey, last time we got on the podcast, we were talking about toenails for a long time.
That's
so,
true.
this is just par for the course.
You know what I'm not going to do?
What?
I'm not going to apologize.
Me neither.
I asked no forgiveness.
No forgiveness.
For Larry Comeuppance.
Not at all.
Because that's gold. That is literary gold.
Just as toenails in the pantyhose was freaking gold.
It's gold. Tell me that no one else has thought that before.
Exactly.
Probably not, but that's not the point. Oh, well, the good news is you get more of this every Wednesday.
God damn right you do.
Every single Wednesday. We come to you.
We sure do. And before then,
happy reading.